Don't be afraid to look stupid. Because if you don't look stupid, are you even getting better? Because here's a thought that I've been thinking about lately. We always want to feel good and we always want to look good in front of others. But in reality, is that what we really want? Because when you think about it, when you look good in front of others, when you're good at something, are you really pushing yourself beyond your limits? Because I don't think so. And if you're never stretching your comfort zone, if you're never doing something that you look bad doing, if you get my drift, are you really getting better? Are you really pushing yourself? Are you really trying something new, trying something different? We worry so much about looking bad in front of others, about embarrassing ourselves, worrying what other people think, about the mistakes we make or the questions we ask even. We start questions with, I'm sorry if this is a dumb question, but and it's like, if you just didn't say that, it wouldn't have been a dumb question. Or like, it wouldn't have been a stupid question. It would just have been a question. But when you frame it like that, how do you think the other person's gonna perceive you? I know that it can somewhat like pull down the level of the question you're asking. But really, like, think about it. If you ask a question starting with, I'm sorry if this sounds stupid, but how do you think the other person's gonna respond? If you frame it as this is gonna be stupid, then obviously it's gonna feel that way. If you just ask the same question to the same person, no framing involved, it would be a completely normal question. But we feel so bad about asking things that we know we should know, but in the moment we just can't remember it, or we're just like, we're overthinking about what that other person's gonna think about us, which they don't care. Nobody cares. Because guess what? That other person that you're worrying about, that other person whose judgment you dread, who you don't want them to judge you harshly. You don't want them to think that you're stupid. They're probably thinking the exact same way about you. They are probably sitting there being like, God, I forgot this thing. I feel so dumb. Am I really gonna have to ask this person? They're probably sitting there feeling the exact same way. Because we're all more similar than we like to agree on. And so if you feel stupid for asking a question or making a mistake, then guess what? That other person whose judgment you're afraid of, they have probably been in your exact same shoes. They probably sat there thinking the exact same thoughts you have. And they've been there like, oh no, I don't wanna, like, I fucked up so bad. I look so stupid. Like, this is horrific. And guess what? In 5 minutes, they won't care. They'll have forgotten all about it and everything will be fine. And they'll be back to worrying about themselves again. they might like they might laugh at you for a second, but 2 minutes from now, they'll have forgotten all about it and they'll be back worrying about their own problems. They'll be worrying about how they look in some other person's eyes or even in your eyes. because that's the thing, we care too much about ourselves. And so the way that we judge ourselves and feel like we look worse than we are is actually holding us back so much that we could do so much more. Just imagine if half the time that you spent overthinking about what those other people think about you, imagine if you put that time into actually doing the thing you're afraid of, or asking the questions that you were overthinking about asking. Imagine you'd save so much time, you'd make so much progress, and guess what? You would actually look less stupid because you would now have more information and more knowledge, more experience from those failures if you do fail. You wouldn't feel like you look as stupid because you've already looked stupid before. So either way, it's a win-win situation. As long as you dare to look stupid now, you'll basically save yourself from looking stupid later. And no one will even care. That's the trick. No one cares. And once you realize that, you win so much freedom. That's the biggest thing you win. Because nobody cares. They'll have forgotten about the thing that you're overthinking about, the thing that you're stressed out about. You're sitting there being like, oh, but what if he'll think this and what if they'll think that? And you're putting so much pressure on such a minuscule thing that no one will bat an eye to in 2 minutes. And when you realize that, like, why would you be afraid to look bad? Why would you be afraid to fail? No one cares. I'm like, in any situation you're in, don't be afraid to look bad. Don't be afraid to be the one who fails. Because if nothing else, you'll have learned from that experience. And you'll feel a little less, I don't know, anxious, stressed, or worried the next time you do the same thing. Because now you have the experience of failing. Now you have the experience of asking that question that you're worried about. And the next time, it'll be easier. Because it's always easier the second time you do something. It's always easier once you have that experience of doing it once. But the hardest part is just getting over the hump. The like, what's that Newton's law? Like, an object in motion tends to stay in motion. So if you never start and you never do the first step, it's gonna feel like you're climbing Mount Everest. But once you take the first step, it's basically like rolling down the highway. You're already in motion, so you can just keep going. So, what am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say is, looking bad might feel scary. It might feel stressful in the moment right now that you're in. But in 2 minutes, it won't matter. No one will care. You are the only person who cares about it for more than 2 minutes. And once you accept that fact, once you understand that you don't have to put that much pressure on it, it doesn't matter. No one cares. Just do it anyway. You'll be able to get started. And getting started is the hardest part. Once you've done that, once you've asked the question, you can move forward. And then you can do another question or another thing that also makes you feel a bit scared, that makes you feel a bit stressed. But this time it's gonna be that much easier because you've already done it once, which means you can now do it again. And from there on out, you've you've got momentum, which means you're basically unstoppable. So just try that out and imagine that no one really cares. You can do anything as long as you just get out of your own head and you understand that the worries, the stress that you have about others' opinions, it's not as bad as you think. It's much better than that, actually. So just try that out and see how it feels. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.